past, and a lot in the past, to be honest, with Gatorade and Pepsi products and all that. So we jumped at it. And it's, it's really kind of a sign of the time. It's really the kind of things, the doors that open for your agency. To be an agency, you have to be able to do a lot of things right now, I think. And it's just, you can choose to be a very specialized agency, or you really kind of feel like you need to be able to do a lot of things for somebody. And so clients don't, really necessarily want to juggle a ton of agencies right now. So it's like, we just kind of jump in a lot. We go through a lot of unique doors. So this is no exception. This was the assignment, but we had every intention of showing them the relationship that we could build with them, and then show them how we can help them socially, digitally. And Red Hook's a great brand. It's been in Seattle forever, and it's one of the original micros, and it was a really cool opportunity. And they were getting some momentum around this thing called Big Ballard, which is kind of a sub-brand of Red Hook. They still have their old school Longhammer and ESB and bottles, and there's that whole generation that grew up on that. But the kids are buying this 8.7 bang for the buck IPA. So they're selling the crap out of this stuff, and they're killing it. They're like the number 2 or 3 selling IPA in Washington right now, the Big Ballard. So a lot of momentum behind it. So it was really fun to jump on. And I'm going to let James talk a little bit about specifically what we did with this package, just kind of the words behind the creative, and then maybe we'll show you a little peek about where we're going with Red Hook now after that. You got your own list.
I do. See if I can make it work.
Hey y'all. So yeah, as Matt was saying, when Red Hook, when the opportunity arose with Red Hook, it was a very focused exercise on this package. They have a lot of brand architecture that was all in place, and the client really just wanted to do something different to kind of create a little sub-identity or something special with this particular release. So they really came to us with sort of a concept already baked, and it was the team's job and partially my job to really just hone in on the kind of craft of the design, which for a person with a lot of packaging and brand experience, I was like, yeah, awesome, great. So a lot of type exploration, illustration exploration, both of those things are right up my alley. So like I said, I was very, very excited to work on this. And yeah, it really kind of grew into this creation of an identity for this beer that could extend beyond the packaging. So as well as sort of create, what do I want to say, like a precedent for other releases that they wanted to do in this same Big Ballard line of beers. So if we click there, we'll see where kind of this relationship has gone. So now we have this Big Ballard Tropical Juicy IPA that we kind of got to play with. Yes, McKenna's holding it there, so perfect. And so once again, how do we explore retaining the Big Ballard identity, but playing with a unique kind of expression of that. So taking Captain Big Ballard to the tropics somewhere and fun, yeah. And so, like I was saying, these packaging exercises really ended up creating these unique identities that have expanded beyond just packaging. So I think that's where it's really exciting to work at a place like Catalysis, where we've sort of taken these identities and blown them out across social media and some out-of-home advertising, and yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah, I'll show that. But yeah, just to talk about packaging a little bit more with the Captain, that was kind of an iconic thing with Ballard, being from Ballard, and the kind of the maritime heritage of the brand. And so how can we kind of keep this character and freshen him up? So I have some fun with glasses and aviators, for instance, other things. There's just some subtle things in there that I think really work adding a pineapple around the badge. I mean, just keeping the core. If you see this blocked out on a shelf right now, it looks really solid as a brand as far as, you know, that's where it all happens in the beer aisle, that decision that you're making when you walk down. At the end of the day, you don't really want to make decisions. You just want to reach for something that sounds good. So I think that's where Valorant's kind of, Red Hook's kind of sweet spot is. It's like a few bucks less than everybody else, and it's like a good looking beer. And James did a great job on it. So I'll show you a little bit more. Just kind of basically just taking this captain thing and going a little extra mile with it. It's Captain's One, and we started playing with the mustache a little bit. And you can see where the packaging kind of starts to inform some of the other things. You know, you're being a captain of, they took it into their internal brewery, ordering all things, keeping it real, perfect flavors. So they brought their staff in the whole thing and pushed that all around the company. So it was fun to kind of help them push this into different parts of their company. And then just a little bit more of where we kind of took it. And then we got to work on this new product, name it, and well, it's lager squash. Maybe you're drinking that. It's a little more drinkable at 4 or 5% lager. This is a really fun one that's just starting to come out. Worked with Illustrator and designed this whole package from scratch and naming it as well. So and just a little bit more. So yeah, go down to the Red Hook Brew House. That's
awesome.
So the lager squash is here and he's ready to partner. But yeah, just a little peek at the relationship, and just want to show you that. So enjoy the Red Hook, and thanks for coming.
Yeah. How was it working with the client? How involved were they with your creative process, and like did they?
Don't give the mic to James.
Yeah. Did you have to compromise? How pure was your vision realized?
The main client, classic main client is ex-designer, creative director, RGA, beginning client.
Oh wow.
Knows his way around Photoshop and Illustrator.
Yeah.
You can figure out where some of those calls go. And
Sure.
some things that happen along the way, right?
Yeah, you know, it is great to have a client with like really fun taste though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the opportunity was big here because our client kind of just knew the vibe that he was after. So yes, some of those calls can be challenging. I'm sure you all know, but at the end of the day, you know, I think we've netted out really awesome work. So I think that's the thing to keep in mind, and yeah, it's fun to have clients with like really fun taste. So
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think they've been great, and our other client kind of runs the other brands in their portfolio, Whitmer and Square Mile Center. So she's more on that business side, and Jason's more on the kind of just the creative side for Red Hook, and really is super committed to bringing this brand back. Like it's his full passion. So so I think it's good. Like James said, it's a good combo. But yeah, there's definitely a co-building of a design, and we're okay with that sometimes. You know?
Yeah.
just some offhand, you know, sample feedback is like, I kind of want the swatch to look sexier.
There was a lot of fake swatch facial.
So that's, you know. I don't know. What do we think?
Super sexy.
The Home Depot werewolf was a killer Halloween this year, so it's like
There you go.
there it is.
You're on trend. Anyone else with questions?
For the hazy, what made you guys kind of go away from the Northwest vibe, and kind of how long did that process take to get kind of sold in?
Good question. They, like I said, they kind of came with an idea of water and this color palette. So we were already in a place that was kind of where we were going to be. So what type, how did we do the neon type? Where did we get there? And then,
Yeah, so I think, just like what Matt said, I think, you know, there's this desire to keep it connected to this kind of like water environment, but they wanted to push the packaging away from the core product. And yeah, our client just kind of had this sense. And I think, you know, when I initially started working on it, I definitely went to a couple different bottle shops and kind of looked at, because hazy is kind of a big category right now. And the sort of like neon, like Miami kind of vibe was, you kind of see it represented a little bit. So it did seem correct for the product. And yeah, it was really, you know, up to the team to, you know, deliver this kind of like punchy, fun, neon packaging.
What stuck in my head was that it's like a ferry at sunset, leaving a water trail.
Yeah.
A smoky sunset.
And you look directly behind the back of a boat sailing away from you at sunset. You get this really cool kind of water patterning.
Yeah.
So that was the inspiration.
Yeah, that's our version.
So you,
You're sticking to it?
Maybe you're.
It's our version of the Caribbean in the Northwest.
so you guys, so the brand came with you with like Ballard was an existing brand name, and so, but it's so old school, and you brought in Captain Ballard and you updated him, made him cool and all that stuff. Was that, there was no option to leave that on the table and just completely do a new brand like you did with Lager Scotch, or how'd that decision go? And was that a weird anchor to deal with, or was that a fun constraint?
Yeah, we actually went through a whole, you know, I think Red Hook is still figuring out exactly how they want to kind of play this line of Big Ballard beers.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you're kind of seeing the first few iterations of this. They wanted to maintain the core character. They wanted this like kind of strong core identity, but you know, how can you flip it? You know, a bunch of different ways with the style of beer and just kind of blow it out like that.
Yeah, I think it's smart to hang on to something. They earned it and they've worked hard, so not other beers can do it. So I think there's some aspect of keeping some heritage in the mix and trying to make it new and interesting.
Yeah.
Which, you know, there's so many beers out every day now, so how can Red Hook hang? So I think it's smart to have a sub-brand and then keep your old school and introduce Lager Squatch as kind of standalone. They've got Storm Surge and a couple other random. So kind of the challenge is like, how do you hold that whole family together? And I think there's opportunity to bring back some of the, you know, the ESBs and cool ways and on premise and stuff. So yeah, we'll see where we go with it. But
Yeah, that would be great. We should do that.
Yeah, more work.
yeah.
Awesome.
Well, that was awesome. And really, really nice work. We can see why it wins. Next up, Tony Fulgham, James Kevins. Thank you for the hookup. I'm going to talk to you about it, but I'll let you stand here and run through the work. If you want to do like, how'd you like to go with this?
I can just bullshit all night long.
Yeah.
I am leaving I just got a text that I think my dad might be in the hospital, so.
Oh,
like,
yes, yeah, keep an eye on that. We can jump around. You've got, okay, we're gonna show 4 different videos here. Okay. All right. That's number 1, yeah.
Yes.
All right, so I will do this. So let's introduce first Tony Fulgham, executive
Just call me Found.
creative director and founder of All Is Well Studios. Perennial award winner. I've known Tony a long time. He's a force. This is I'm very lucky to have
I've
him
known
here.
you since before I went to film school, before I got into this shit. Yeah.
Right. So let's show the work. I'll just be your keyboard monkey here, and then you talk about what you want. All right. Oh, the client.
Universal Audio, great group of people who make really killer. It's a strange brand because it was originally branded in the 50s and 60s. The original Bill Putnam designed outboard recording gear for Frank Sinatra, and then like Led Zeppelin took it and totally screwed it up and made it amazing. If I drop an F-bomb, is that okay? Like,
Totally,
yeah, great.
please.
I don't think
Oh,
Mike's
click on your Mike, how's that? There we go.
So his son refired up the company in early 2000s, and they started making digital emulations of original hardware as well as reissuing some of the old hardware.
Yeah.
The head of marketing there got a hold of me before I even started all as well, just to kind of get me to start doing launches because he was a fan of my band and knew that I did commercials. And so this client was a really long running client, did amazing stuff with them. They kind of always just trusted me and then us to kind of get wacky with it. Went from just doing product launches to, and this is this was the first time they entered into there's the blues lawyer who is like the rich person who can afford to buy the really expensive stuff and just wank on guitar all day long in their garage, right? This is the first time they tried to do an entry-level musician, the hardware product, like something affordable for someone who's out of high school going into college, wants to have a recording studio in their bedroom, and so we got to like completely change the brand from like super refined premium to a couple of stoners on a couch that decide they want to make a record, So it's like it's a lot of stuff, but that's where this Volt was like entry-level recording hardware.
Cool, great setup. Let's watch one.
We should make a record.
Totally.
So the great part about that one is I got to write the song and record it on my show. And the great thing about these also is that this client was really into us always helping create a narrative for their brands. So like the story of making a record, or in this case, it's just all of the shit that you go through trying to make a good sound and can't afford to make a good sound. So that's basically the concept of this entire campaign. But
that's cool. And how do you tiptoe around, the other client's fear of like, cheapening the brand or any of that kind of stuff if they're known for producing stuff? How is that handled?
Well, they're all musicians, and music. I mean, basically, if you address music and good music and music sounding good, and with anything that we try to write or direct, like as long as you can get as stupid as that, as long as you're being honest about a connection to a human deciding to make music, and that doesn't feel like bullshit, then they're pretty much open to it, and it's been a pretty great relationship. And also, like, I mean, I'm their target audience, so it's really, it was really easy for me to like dig in. It's like, when was the last time I was pissed off about making music? All right, there's a spot, so.
That's perfect. They're lucky to have you. It's just such a good match. Where are they based, by the way?
Santa Cruz.
Yeah. All right, here's another one.
First step to becoming a glamour goddess is getting rid of those brows. Drugstore makeup to fabulous. Check 1, 2. Test. Excellent. And now for the piece de resistance. There she is, boys. There she is, world. It's me. It's me.
Also, the first time I got into the podcasting YouTuber realm, so like we got to go out and find the best drag queen in town.
Local talent?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Actually, one of the hosts at Supernova. So if you ever go down there, you'll definitely see her doing her thing. It's fucking amazing.
That is awesome. Yeah, I mean, in such a small amount of time, you can raise so many different aspects of the product, audience, use case. It's all, and plus it's fun. I mean, that's the thing tying it all over. You've got.
And like I said, for me, like I directed these, which I don't direct as much anymore, but this one was so easy for me to dig into because so often when you get a brand or a product, you really have to do your research to make sure that you're not BSing anybody, right? This was very easy for me not to BS. Like I know what a compressor is.
And why it matters.
And why it matters, right? And that's what that one's about.
Yeah.
So some people wouldn't know what the hell that spot was about until you sound like shit when you're recording something. And then
then they know.
But here's what makes that extra accessible is like, you didn't say compressor, you just showed why it mattered. Or you didn't even be like, hey, this is compressor, you need it. You may not know, but it's just use our stuff and it sound better than that.
Look, amazing looking human being who's full of energy and really funny, turning into a more amazing looking human being. Sounds like shit at the beginning, doesn't sound like shit at the end. That's because of Universal Audio. Yeah, check the box, right?
Yeah, not overcomplicated, but made beautiful and really nice. And
The next two are more
succinct.
complicated.
Yeah, awesome. All right, let's see. Beautiful screen.
These are also the most fun I've had a short in a very long time.
That's so good. I want to buy one of those now.
So I think we wrote that one off of the fact that there's a place in Portland that only sells tape cassettes. Like you can't, like no matter how you recorded it, it's only on cassette at their record store,
Oh,
which is just such like the most beautiful hipster analog thing ever. So just and the Tomo Nakayama is a good friend of mine, and that's the other great thing about Universal Audio is I've always been able to like tap into the local music scene and bring people in. And we did one with Deep Sea Diver, and we just ran into Jessica recently. She's like every time they put a new video up with that song behind it, I get like 5,000 more followers on Instagram and sell 250 more records. So it's like for a long time, it's just like with Flying Moon Royalty and Tomo Nakayama and Deep Sea Diver, like being able to bring local bands. We got to work with.
Chocolate Nomad.
What's that?
Was it chocolate?
Yeah, Chong Nomad, Shabazz Palaces, Sarah Cahoon, like all these people have been able to bring into the Universal Audio brand. So all Seattle musicians, and they get to keep eating in Seattle, which is an easy thing
I
to do.
love it.
So, yeah.
And plus, that's mutual back scratching. That's real cred too for the brand.
It's amazing how much the film community and the music community don't overlap. And this brand being done in Seattle was probably one of the biggest overlaps I've been able to create, which felt really good. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, Chong's coming the 18th. He's the band for Hollis.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. Yeah. Okay. Next one.
Should make a
That's not the
record.
next one. We saw that, huh?
Yep.
All right. Just going down the list here.
We might have given it to you wrong.
Give it to me. All right. Yeah, maybe we did. All right. So we only have.
Yeah, the other one's a woman sitting in a bathtub trying to record because the bathroom's the only place with good reverb and the roommate's pounding on the door. Something that everyone's.
First step to
Yeah, we saw
becoming a
that
glamour.
one. Hold on.
Yeah,
Like one more.
same one twice.
Retro. We did that.
Yeah.
There we go. There it is. There it is.
What?
I gotta go.
Come on, this is the only one with the verb.
I gotta go.
Thoughts knock around my head like pinballs. My brain, it hurts back and forth, but I don't score points. Yeah, I just keep on feeling worse. The glass on my hand feels cold.
Yeah. So that was the campaign. It was super fun. It's, the basic, we approach it like anything else we do, where it's, if we're making a video about a brand, we try to figure out what it is that is sort of the kernel of the essence or the main point of the brand that becomes the kernel of the essence of whatever story it is we're trying to write. And we try to get whoever the target audience is to see themselves in it. This one was super easy because most of us who are working on it have been in that position. We've done some for them that were targeting, me now, not me when I was 16. Those are easy too. The guy finds a
vintage amp and freaks out about it because Neil Young played it on Harvest Moon or whatever. You know, it's this is one of my favorite clients I've ever worked for because it was just really easy to combine everything that I know. But it's the same principle, you know, whenever we're doing a video campaign for somebody, try to find a way to make a passive audience become active. And you just do that with a narrative and good characters. And hopefully you have someone that can write a good joke, which thankfully I have some co-writers who can. There you go.
It looks so good. Everything is done so nicely. Was this big budget? Was it small? Like how? Yeah, I mean,
Does anybody win an award with the projects that have budgets? I mean, no.
maybe you're gonna find out.
No, I didn't. I mean, I had one production designer on the whole thing's production design, the whole Bernie tape deck thing. I mean, clearly that was a digital effect. It was actually supposed to explode, but that didn't happen. So, like, you know, while my production designer was trying to figure out how we were going to make smoke come out of it, I was like I was on the floor putting together spaghettis of, you know, I did the production design on the Tomo one, you know, super skinny crew, one house, you know, no, there was no money behind it, but, you know, like, you know, I mean, half the instruments you see in there came out of my garage, you know, so it's sometimes you just get to do one you're just going to do because it's like an indie film and you love it, and that was this one.
That's all. I love it. It's rich. But okay, so speaking of rich and your history and your familiarity with this brand and your time in the business and all that stuff, it just seems like there's just so much depth to your company's experience that you can really just directly channel that into a project like this, and the result is an ADDY award and a lot of recognition of a great product and success for the brand. Do you think that's required first? Not required, but like, does somebody without those, somebody new to the business and somebody who's fresher, like who got this thing, let's say they didn't know you and they took a risk on a small agency, what's my question here? Like, do they have the chance? They can't do it like you can, but could they pull this off?
Yes, they totally could. I think that, you know, I try not to get drunk and come up here and talk about being a socialist, which is what I did last time.
Do it.
But the thing is, like we are selling shit to people that probably they don't need, right? So what do you do with that knowledge? You try to make a piece of art that actually injects a little more humanity into the media we consume. So I think there's a lot of millennials and Gen Zs who come in and slaughter these spots and never have the angst I had over it. They would just nail it, right? Because they understand what it is, who they're talking to, they understand why they're talking to them. And this one's also easy because it's about making music, but still, you don't need one of these to make a record. You really literally could make a record on a tape deck. Daniel Johnston did it for years, right? He would re-record the same record over and over and over again. People would buy those tapes. It's amazing. Like, art will survive. So when we're doing anything, even if it's the most just like, you know, boring crap for a corporation that has big towers, you still have to figure out how to connect a human with a human and a human feeling. And so as long as we focus on that, I sleep well at night. You know, being a socialist in advertising, sometimes that's difficult. But, you know, it's like, and when it works, people feel something, and I don't think that requires a 53-year-old white dude. I think that requires someone who has empathy and self-reflection and sees their place in the world and can then flip that around to an audience and say, how can I make you see yourself in this world? It can be a really easy product to sell like a music recording gear, or it can be someone who's drinking an IPA, or it could even be cybersecurity. Who wants that? But we need it, right? Like, so you can flip that around, and I think if we just keep focusing on putting, you know, non-cynical, borderline optimistic input into our creative, then we're actually creating surplus goodwill rather than a deficit of goodwill. it is very easy in advertising to create a deficit of goodwill. So that's kind of that's the boulder we're sort of pushing up the hill all the time. I fail often. So do my other creatives. We constantly fail at that. Like sometimes we get super cynical when we kick the tires really hard, you know. But you know, we all got to make a living. We're creatives. How do you make a, you know? You just, it's of the young creatives in my office. They show up with amazing shit they would never think of, you know. Different point of views. So yeah, you don't have to be me to do this. You can be my 30-year-old creative director who's never played a musical note in her life. Can show up and figure out how another human being is going to see himself in the spot. Long circle. Came back.
Love it. No, that's perfect. And like, I don't even want to say anything else because that's such a good place to move on to audience questions. Matt.
But you've been doing this for a long time with these guys, and you've probably really built their brand voice over time. Like, there's probably kids rocking that T-shirt, or Universal Audio T-shirts because of the shit you've been doing for a long time. So
It was
I think if you gave it to a young creative, they would have this reference of this brand in their head, hopefully. Or maybe they're just getting to know it. I don't know.
Yes, if I give it to a young creative, they have the brand in their head, but also if I'm like a lead on it for too long, I can't get myself out of the way of the thing that I built with the company. And so that's the thing with long-lasting relationships with the brand. I think is important is I'll get stale, right?
Yeah.
And so handing it up to somebody with a totally new approach to it, and then all I have to do is sort of be like, I see all the things you're doing and it's amazing. Just don't use that word because it sends the boss over the edge, right? Like I can just paint red flags and then trust the creative output of a 28-year-old creative director, even if I don't understand it, which happens all the time. And I love it when that happens. Like I have no clue what it is you're trying to do right here, but it makes me feel funny. And as long as you take that word out, which I know pisses off the client, I'm going to let it fly and see what happens.
Yeah.
And you know, we've had not these spots, but we've had spots before where that ended up working, you know, with different clients that ended up working. And yeah, so it's, you mentioned earlier that it's a bunch of dudes up here and dudes of an age. I might be the oldest one, but it's you know, and you know, that stinks. There's a, you know, I've been pushing really hard since the beginning of all as well to make sure that it doesn't look like me. We've done really good in LGBTQ representation of our creatives and our crews, and we've done really well with female representation in our crews and in our company around creative. In June of 21, we tried to, we needed to hire a new creative director and a new producer, and we just shot the job application out to everywhere.
Yeah.
90% white return and probably 80% male, right? And I shouldn't have been surprised, but you know, when I went back and looked at what the criteria was, like 10 years experience, et cetera, et cetera. I've been in business long enough that I go back 10 years in Seattle. It was all white dudes, like everybody getting hired was white dudes coming in. Like, fuck, we can't, what are we supposed to do? James and I talked about starting an internship program, an apprenticeship program. We were starting to talk with African Town Land Trust as far as outreach because we realized our voice wasn't getting far enough. And then I went to a Burning Man party in the desert in Oregon, and just as the mushrooms were kicking in, I met this guy, and he was in the film business. I knew that, and someone had introduced us. He's like, I don't want to talk about work, man. He's like, what's exciting you? And I told him what was exciting me was this conversation I just had with African Town Land Trust about an apprenticeship program we wanted to start.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to talk to you later when we're not high. And it turned out that he was, you know, he was a bigwig at Fujifilm, and they sponsored a program for us. And we've had 6 interns come in that were paid 20 plus an hour. So it's a paid apprenticeship program. We taught them how to intake an RFP. We brought them on all our productions, and it was all BIPOC 18 to 24.
and we financed a short film at the end. It was essentially a commercial for us, but three-month programs with 2 interns each, and I just basically got to sit and teach them how to write, how to do log lines, how to do synopsis, how to break down the problems of a client through an RFP, and then we would take them through storyboarding and learning how to sequence, learning how to use a camera that Fujifilm gave us. And I mean, it was an amazing year of that, and it was all just like the tail end of the frustration of thinking we were doing the right thing. It's like, we came up really short of trying to do the right thing because we just thought if we put it out there, we would get what we needed. It didn't work that way. So we just kind of went to the beginning of the career chain. We just finished our last cohort yesterday. We screened their films, and they're good. I mean, I think we had 222 goals. And it's been a really amazing thing. I think that's probably the next thing I'm going to focus on my time on, is trying to figure out how to write a little pamphlet about that big on how to start your own apprenticeship program. But
I love it. And you've been instrumental in the creation of the creative pipeline with the William Gross Center.
yeah, that's the African Land Trust William Gross Center kind of.
Yeah. So we'll have, we were promoting that as it was going down, and we will really get into that in April with that, because January we're not doing anything, February we have our Super Bowl, then March is ADDYs, and then April we're going to talk about that kind of thing. That's great. Love to show that work.
And any agency people here that want like a junior copywriter who can write a 60-second spot but doesn't know they're asking a hole in the ground, I've got 3 that can write a joke and can write a 60-second script. They don't know which way to point. And if you point them in the right direction, they will be internship for like, but 3 of them?
Yeah.
2 of, really, there's 2 that like will kill you. Like they will come in and they will write jokes for you. If you want a copywriter who just wants to get their foot in the door, or a director that gets their foot in the door, the big thing is like they have one thing on their reel that they wrote and directed. They have learned a little bit of the language, but I've only been able to give them 3 months. Yeah, right. And now our next step is making sure that the momentum doesn't die. Like one of them is working as a concierge at a hotel, right?
Yeah.
He's making his money, but the guy is fucking funny. Like he doesn't even know how funny he is. Like he wrote 2 spots, and I was like, shit, I can't decide. They're both hilarious. One of them is like White Lotus level puke, and and the other one was just this like really nice slice about trying to figure out how to be creative, and just the pacing and the timing, like young, never made a film. Both of the 2 recent cohorts, first time ever directing narrative. And so if you want somebody, call me. I will send you an apprentice, or I will send you an intern that can write and can think creatively and speak the language with you. And they're awesome people.
Love it. Love it. Any other questions for Tony? All right, we're going to move on to Sean. Thank you so much, Tony. Sean Heron with Wunderman Thompson Global Technology Group. Did I get that right? Yes. Yes. All right. Close enough. All right. So you guys did really well. Everybody has done really well. You had a special honor of being in National American Advertising Awards National Judge's Choice, which is really tough. We're going to look at this video. Yeah, let's play it. This is called, you'll see.
I felt like one of the first.
Oh, hold on. Wake it up. Yep, it's coming. Yes.
As a photographer, I felt like one of the first astronauts stepping onto Mars. It's just unbelievable. every aspect of this project was epic in scope. With the aid of Sarha, an elite group of photographers from all around the world were invited to shoot remotely, which brilliantly took us to areas of Saudi Arabia that no man or woman has ever been to before.
Sarha roamed the unseen lands with a solar-powered, state-of-the-art camera and a highly stable STC connection that covers the entire kingdom. She'll be the photographer's eyes, feeding them live UV indexes, light and brightness for optimizing their photography, allowing them to take beautiful, high-definition images in real time, buffered and uploaded at high speeds.
It was a great experience. And it's something that I've never done before.
I really love the fact that Sarha is providing me access to these enclosed sceneries.
Kudos to Sarha. I couldn't have done it without her.
Sarha is a joint venture. I work with a weird team. We are 5 people, and we sit in Seattle, but we work kind of across the network. So they kind of drop us into projects across Wunderman, Thompson. And we got dropped into this Saudi project. We collaborated with them on the concept and how to execute it. And yeah, so they're basically like the Verizon of Saudi Arabia, and we needed to show how fast they are everywhere. And the hook was, and it was actually the camel part was their input around like, this is a very revered animal, it can go anywhere, and so much of it is kind of uninhabited, so we kind of ran, we had talks with Canon for a while, they had a really cool product, and as we went through it, we found out that no one can use it except for specific people. So we ended up building the entire, everything on the back of that camel we built in-house in Seattle. It's pretty weird. And we used a company that actually does game cameras. So like at night you can go out and shoot stuff and move the camera around. And we actually worked with him to kind of hack the system for the back of the camel.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's a lot in that, pretty nice summary of that, but a lot of fast moving things to something that actually had a lot of pieces to it. Do you want to expand on like how that all went? I mean, even just start with what it is. I mean, essentially it's a camel walking around with a camera gear, and remote photographers take turns controlling it remotely and taking pictures.
Yes.
Yeah.
So essentially, we had the concept of to prove the speed of the network 5G
do things remotely.
For sure. I think people would have gone like this if they didn't see how the art of what we actually went into making the thing.
It's like marketing. It's like marketing Star Wars with the extras on the DVD.
Yes.
Right. Like the movie's great, but wait till you see the extras. And it's Anyway, I thought it was killer.
Totally.
Yeah, but it's so 360, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I just have a couple questions. Did you have a stunt camel locally that you built
No.
mechanism on?
We fought, the one fight we lost with Saudi Arabia was we wanted to build the actual, like, thing on its back, like the carriage or whatever that thing was. And we lost that battle. I said, no. We're gonna fit it here. It's gotta be fit perfectly.
You know the camel sound.
Yeah.
And then, what is your title? Is it like creative technologist? How are you sold to the clients?
Classically,
As a special ops.
I'm a creative director on the art side. My partner's a writer. I just like tinkering and building things. So I kind of fell into this creative technology space.
But yeah, you're
I would say more in that creative technology. I like a 30-second spot or a 60-second spot would petrify the living shit
Yeah,
out
so
of me.
you get brought in to
It's
add
not my
this
space.
piece to another campaign or another.
My job is to make the thing that PR wants to talk about. Yeah. So like it's a very, like I can define it pretty clearly now at 44. Like make the thing, create something that does something that people can either interact with, watch, or whatever, and you just get wonder, and then everything else falls. So like my team did not make that spot. That spot was created by the Saudi team, and they were like right away like, oh, we got this. Yeah, like this is.
I love that you brought up wonder. That's something Jim Haley talks about. He had a whole talk on wonder. That's co-founder of the creature. And that is a very special quality. It's hard. It's hard to get, but it's a great thing to summon in some that's word. But what tips you off internally? What do you look for? How do you get there in your process? So how do you go? Okay, this one's got wonder, this one doesn't.
I think you're trying to prove a point in your like in business brief comes in. You got to prove a point that's going to solve that problem, and then you got to feel like why would someone want to be like, why would someone want to watch it? Why would someone want to write about it? Like talk about the thing, because that's the other piece of it for us is we don't. My group doesn't do a lot of work that ever lives in paid media. So we rarely do we rely on the fact that we're going to get a paid budget.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to do something that a journalist is going to want to be like, holy shit, look what they just did, and then that thing that you did has to then prove a point. So that's the connection part there. I think it's hard to nail, but when you get it, it's pretty great.
Yeah, that's really cool. So yeah, good question too about like where this one was seen. What was the medium where people saw the work?
It was all social, so they put a little bit of paid behind it. Luckily, like in the kingdom, like their channels are huge. The Verizon like thing, the STC channels, so when they started putting things out, it was right away. People were following and commenting on it, and the rest of it was like out of home. They really wanted to take like the output of it after people have seen what we did and actually kind of long tail, so you can see it around town.
Anyone else? Questions? Hey.
This statement, it seems like there's a line in your case study that this camel is going to go where no human had ever been before.
Oh yeah.
We brought that camel to the place.
Yeah.
there was a truck, and we saw it on Strava. And like that camel's hauling ass. There's no way it got to that.
The implication is definitely wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the
Yes.
idea, I remember once, the first time I read a commercial where you see the underside of a 747, but you don't get to stand under a 747 very often, and just that point of view makes people feel something different, right? So like being on the back of a camel someplace where a person hasn't been.
Yeah.
Is wonderful.
It's wonderful, yeah. Yeah, so they truly literally had to truck this camel everywhere. They had to let it go, and they had to hope and pray, and then they'd go back and follow it. Back. And we had two, basically my partner, Matt, when we built the two computers, we had to ship both out there. So we had chemo 1, chemo 2, and one would go down, the other one would go up. Yeah, it was a little bit of a hot mess, but Every photographer got to shoot, every photographer complained a lot, every photographer got to work. Every photographer got a shot in the campaign.
Yeah, it worked well enough that they could give an honest testimony.
You just sign up like 20 divas.
There you go. That's called that's putting a lot of bets on the table. Something we're going to pay off, most certainly. I love it. All right, Sean, well, thank you. If there's nothing else for anyone else, and that's it. That's our 3. So thank you for coming. Yeah, way to show up. This was actually our first in-person event since all the COVID stuff's happened, not including the silver medal reception that we had in May. So thank you. It's good to see everybody in person and have some food, have a drink, hang out a little bit.
Let's do it again next year.
Yeah, let's keep it going. I love this topic. Thank you to all the people on stage for sharing their stories.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
No.
Yes.